live from Sister Basebone Studios. Holistic Alchemy is a healing company providing conversations, consultations, coaching, and other services to promote positive, liberating, and sustainable self-care practices. Welcome to Holistically Speaking. I am Iya Lami. I am the founder and visionary of Holistic Alchemy. I am a body liberation and self-care coach and sound healer. My podcast is where we talk all things holistically speaking, from well-being to self-care and self-love for Black women. I am so grateful that you've taken the time to join me, whether if it is in your car or on the job, if you're sitting at your desk, or maybe you're taking a run in the neighborhood. I'm glad that you made the choice to listen to this conversation. And today, we're going to talk about a very sensitive and personal subject to me. And for many, it might be the same for you as well. So I'm just going to preface this conversation and say that it might be a trigger for some of you. So you might have to pause and then come back, and that's okay. But I just want you to know that can be a very sensitive topic. So for the first 6 years of my life, I grew up in the South. I was born in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. It's a small town in central Arkansas, about 45 miles south of Little Rock. And I have very fond memories of growing up there as a little girl who liked to play hand games with others in the neighborhood under the carport of my grandmother's house and ride my red big wheel with my cousin Kevin round and round. I thought that was the largest carport ever, right? And even going from house to house, playing with friends in the neighborhood on Missouri Street were moments of joy. Playing in the backyard, hide and seek, playing kickball, doing cheerleading. It was just a fun time growing up and having lots of friends to hang out with. When I was 9, my mother made a permanent move to the north. We made a temporary move to Indiana when I was 7 years old so that my mother could complete her doctorate degree. But when I was 9 years old, my mother moved, and this permanent move changed the trajectory of my being as a little Black girl. And so arriving into Youngstown, Ohio, and Youngstown is where I claim to be my home. I moved to Youngstown when I was 9. And so Youngstown is northeast Ohio. It's between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, just to give you some reference for those of you like myself who like geography and like to know where you are, just to give you some place. So it's between Cleveland and Pittsburgh and not too far from Akron as well. And going back, so we moved to Youngstown, and I knew that I was different from others in my neighborhood and school. I, unlike most of my friends, was the darkest little girl. And it didn't help that I grew up in a very diverse neighborhood, which I loved. I loved my experience of growing up in Youngstown and living in this diverse community. And when I say diverse, it was diverse. So here's what diversity for me is. Diversity is I live next door to an Italian family. I live next door to a Polish elder woman. Across the street, there were Irish families. And then I babysat a Jewish family. So again, as you can see, for me, that was the diversity. But I literally was the darkest one on the street and one of the few in my elementary school. And as I was sitting here thinking about what I was going to talk about today and thinking about this whole subject, immediately the little boy in my 5th grade class came to mind. His name was Troy. And he was teased because he was so dark skinned, or as some people, he was so black. And I don't want to share those phrases that some of us might be familiar with when you're comparing someone's darker complexion to something else. I don't want to do that. But you get my drift, right? That he was dark. And just like me, he was teased, he was taunted. And so I was much darker because I had moved from the South. And of course, because of my family genetics. And I was darker than the Northern girls. And it didn't help that I had an accent. And each time I would walk out of someone's house, I would say, I'm finna go home now. Okay. Or I would talk with a drawl. And so sometimes you will hear the drawl come out when I'm talking. So I was the source of someone's joke about being black and being fat. This was devastating to me. And this was so different than my experiences going to school and playing with my friends in Pine Bluff. As you heard me say at the beginning of this podcast, it was just, we were all hanging out. We were all alike. It was fun. It was joyous. Now, of course, I know that, as a child, you have many of us have fond memories. And they could be a bit tainted. But again, it was not anywhere like what I received in Youngstown, that kind of, that concentration on the color of my skin. And so I would cry to my mom. And the mother that she was always affirmed me and loved me. And so she would attempt to comfort me by saying, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Now, I bet many of you have heard that phrase and maybe have even used it when trying to cheer up that child or teenager who has been teased because of their melanin. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. And I as a young girl, I got it. Yeah, that's nice and all. But teenagers and children can be so mean, and those words can cut deeply. And they also, at that age, you want to be liked and approved and of other children. So what your mother said was not anything that really you wanted to hear, right? So I was so fortunate, however, to have my mother pour words of affirmation into me. But not only that, my best friend, Gina Mojuba, her mother found my dark skin so beautiful that she began to call me Black Beauty. So when I would walk into the house, she would say, "Hey, Black Beauty." And now, honestly, I'm going to say I didn't like being called at that time because I had been teased and I had not felt good about the dark complexion. And I'm going to tell you, and I probably should have started the conversation. My grandfather was a dark complected man. My father was probably about a brown skinned, caramel colored man. And so I had these rich, and my mother's a brown skin and so forth. But, having these beautiful array of hues in my family. My grandmother was a light complected woman. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I was called Blackie, Darky. I was called fat and ugly. Some of you out there can relate. Some of you have been ostracized, teased, left out because you were darker or you were quote unquote fat or fatter than everybody. I was made to feel less than human because of the skin color I was gifted with. Yes, I said gifted with. And I say gifted with now because I know that it is a gift to have this beautiful skin color. Because I know many people, not my color, want to have my color or close to it. In addition to our brownish hues, they want our bodies. Who are they? You can fill in the blank there. You know who they are, but they are those that want our bodies, but don't want our color. So what does that mean? And what does our color represent for those people? So just 2 weeks ago, the actress Danielle Brooks, who plays Tasty on Orange is the New Black, released a powerful, amazing single called Black Woman. Now, if you haven't seen it, I am going to say, one, if you check out my playlist on my YouTube channel, you're going to see that I have the video. So I want you to check out Danielle Brooks' video called Black Woman. I cried while watching it. It was like my life on so many levels brought to life through her. It was a beautifully created, or it is a beautifully created video journal that she directed. The whole song touched me. And I actually had to watch it twice. And I'm former English teacher, I want to go into my list of formers, but just to say that I was dissecting the video while watching on so many different levels. I remember taking a film class in undergrad and understanding how to look at cinematography and obviously now that can apply to videos. And so just looking at the way the shots of the camera, the close-up shots, the lighting, and what does that represent? I mean, so there's so many different levels, and I really look forward to having a conversation with a group of people about this video and other videos that show us in a positive element. But anyway, I want you to see, it's called, again, Black Woman. But she describes herself, and she describes herself as cornbread fed, sweet tea sipping, Nubian queen with a skin that glistens. Baby, right there, that line right there. That's one of the many lines, but that line right there, that got me. That was me as a little kid and me now. See, I told you I was from Arkansas, right? So I had cornbread almost every day growing up. Either it was hot water cornbread or skillet cornbread, and then on occasions, my grandmother would throw in some crackling in that hot water cornbread and made it hot water crackling cornbread. But anyway, it was a requirement for dinner. And when I moved to the north, and then of course we drank sweet tea, right? You know, that's just a staple. You drink sweet tea. When I moved to the north and I couldn't get any sweet tea at a restaurant, what? I mean, are you serious? I know some of y'all Southern transplants up in the north know what I'm talking about, right? Because it was always like, okay, here you can have your tea and a packet of sugar. And then here's another thing. I never had Jiffy until I went to the north, but I know some people love Jiffy. I'll leave that. Anywho, back to the video. So Danielle in the video exclaims, "You want my thighs, you want my stride, not this melanin. The world tells me that there is space for me if I cinch it up, if I suck it in. The world tells me it will all work for me if I do a little surgery." Wow. Wow. She laid it out. Her musical conversation is talking about this hegemonic society that preferences European ideologies of beauty, which is thin and lighter complexion. And with those attributes comes material gain, professional advancement, acceptance, being loved. And then for those of us who are the other, large-bodied, darker skinned, we're being shamed. We are being categorized. We are being stereotyped. We're being shamed and sparingly used in print media, advertisements, TV shows, movies. The list goes. And then even not just media, but just even still when it comes to just employment. And if large-bodied women are cast in TV shows or movies, do you know that typically they exhibit a stereotype that has been perpetuated for generations? Like the mammy, the loud mouth, rolling the head, rolling the eyes, big eyes, argumentative woman. This is an atrocity. In 2019, the representation of African American women who are large-bodied and dark-skinned are few and far between. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that there have been advancements. I know that. I know that there have. However, it's not enough. In my opinion, it is not enough. We see, last week, I think it was the Academy Awards or Grammys or something like that, some award show. And some person was told that, some star was told that a designer would not make her dress for her because she was a size 8 and that was too big. What? Come on. The average size of women in the United States of America is a size 14. Yes, a size 14. And then now I know that we've seen some of the more contemporary magazines to showcase models that are African models that are beautiful and, dark skin. Great. That's not. But overall, we are not making or meeting the mark. We are still being held. I don't even want to say held, but it is still not as if we are being, and we're not overall as Black, brown skin, large-bodied people being presented on a regular basis. And it's not helpful. Now, here's another thing here. It's not helpful that many of those who are in the mainstream media, i.e. some of these role models that we quote unquote look up to and love, actors, singers, comedians, it's not helpful that they're having body modification surgeries, because then that justifies to those folks that, yeah, you are right. We'd still need to have you a thinner size. Now, again, reinforcing the message that who you are is not good enough. So I am glad. I am glad is not even the word. I am happy. I am ecstatic that Danielle is disrupting this highly divisive issue around colorism. Her passion is real because it comes from her own pain and experience. And it's my belief that true artists help you to feel all of this. You can relate. See, colorism is so deep, y'all. It cuts even harder when it comes from someone who looks like you. And that is another video and another conversation in itself. Let me repeat that one more time because I think I said that too fast. Colorism cuts even harder when it comes from someone who looks like you. I'm just saying. Okay, so to my point, just last week, Los Angeles Chargers, this football athlete, Jaleel Ade, his fiance and their friends were seen, this was on, I think it was Instagram or Twitter, seen toasting to having more light-skinned kids. WTH? No, really, it's WTF. Yes, he and his white fiance were at a dinner with some friends and they were toasting to having more light-skinned kids. Get out of here. See, this self-hatred statement went viral and will be forever available to those future light-skinned kids to see and adopt this ideology and its insanity. Now, I can provide a laundry list, and you probably can too, of reality shows, movies, and so forth that are prime examples of colorism. But today, in this conversation, I rather highlight this positive video by Danielle Brooks as a spin on what we should be embracing. What we should be embracing. And this is loving and being who you are and embracing the skin that you're in as is. So, this colorism has been said to be a mental illness. And it impacts our minds, our bodies, and our spirits. And see, my work as a body liberation coach does not just necessarily just mean the body. So because for African Americans, our body image is equated to the color of our skin, our hair, and our bodies. So when I say body liberation coach, I want to be clear in saying this encompasses all of that. So this self-love, this self-care is not just of the body, the physical, it's also the skin, your complexion. It's also having you to understand the roots of your oppression related to the hair. And that's going to be the next podcast. We're going to be talking about our nappy hair. But anyway, trust and believe we're going to have many more conversations. See, sisters and brothers, we have to unpack the roots of our oppression so that we can begin to live liberated lives and leave a legacy of love for our skins and our bodies as is. Trust and believe we're going to have many more conversations. Matter of fact, I would love, triple love, double love to interview Danielle Brooks. So if any of y'all know how to make that happen, I know that she is actually from Augusta, Georgia, right down the road here from me. So if anyone has access or can get me in contact with the sister, I would love to interview her and to have a more deeper conversation about colorism and about, loving your bodies as is. So please let me know. Reach out to me, email me, whatever that is. And I want you to share this podcast. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Share this podcast and have conversations. Talk about this. And I want this to be an enlightening experience for you to share with your daughters, granddaughters, nieces, sisters, cousins, when you're sitting down to have a sister conversation, say, hey, did you hear Iya Lami's podcast? She was talking about this video, Black Woman by Danielle Brooks, but more importantly, she was talking about loving our beautiful brown, black, caramel colored skins as is, and our bodies as is. So I hope you return again, as we will talk all things holistically speaking, well-being, self-care, and self-love. And follow me. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Holistic Iya Lami or on Facebook at Holistic Alchemy. Until next time, this is Iya Lami.